So the first question I want to ask you, well, first of all, is there anything you'd like to say about the film before I start asking you a bunch of questions about it? Now I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions about it.
Thanks.
That was easy. Casting. How did you first get involved in the film? What about reading the script? I mean, you had just been coming off of the 3 and 4 Musketeers. What was it about the script that interested you? How'd you get involved?
All right, in that order. I was in the right place at the right time. I was doing a play down at the Armandson Theatre, Ring Round the Moon, with Glynis Johns. And one day going to rehearsal, I got rear-ended on the freeway and the whole car blew up. So they said, well, we're going to give you a driver. So I had this young guy, this kid, who would drive me back and forth, and I got to know him and like him. And one day the script of Logan's Run arrived, and I wasn't sure about it. I didn't think it was for me. And I told him, I said, I got this. And he said, can I read it? So he picks me up the next day and he said, hey, you've got to do this. He said, you may not understand what's going on, but I do. It's pressing a lot of buttons. I think you should reconsider. So I owe him a lot. He got a part in the movie. I guess that was some recompense. So I worked with Michael Anderson before, so I think he was pulling for me. We did a film called Conduct Unbecoming. Actually, really good film with a lot of wonderful actors. And so I had that going for me. So I went into MGM, and it was all signed and sealed. I was here. So I, again, very lucky.
This is one of the top dystopian films of the late 60s, early 70s. This is certainly in the top 5, Planet of the Apes, so in the Green. There are a number that are very particular to this time frame. Obviously, there were a lot of political issues that were going on at the time that, life imitates art. Was there any thought process about that because he said you didn't quite understand it, but in looking back at it, what are your thoughts on the statement it was making?
Well, looking back, I'm struck, as I was tonight, about how prescient it was in many ways. I mean, the production designer, everyone involved got, they got a lot of things right. It anticipated, so many things we saw tonight. I mean, the instant sex, the drug, even GPS systems, interactive TV, particularly the mauling of America, which was just these gigantic buildings that were going up all over the land. The high street was, threatened. And that's where we filmed a lot of the stuff, in the apparel market in Dallas, where these giant indoor spaces were pretty novel for the time. I think one of the advantages is that we didn't have CGI. It wasn't easy. It was all done the old-fashioned way, with painted mats and all the, yes, let's hear it for these. And in a way, maybe this is being wise after the event, that these special effects didn't take over from the narrative, the storytelling, which can be liable to happen nowadays, I think. They just go crazy with the, CGI effects, where you can achieve so much with so little.
We actually had, who was here for Steven Spielberg the other day? He actually said that exact same thing, that one of the things he always tries to balance is special effects against story, because story is obviously much more important. This was one of the stories that had some of the newest special effects at the time, including the guns that you used.
Oh, don't mention those guns. There's nothing special about them, damn things.
That they didn't work well.
They did not. So we were, I don't know how many zillion feet of film they wasted, because they wouldn't go off. It was basically a little gas gun that, but anyway, they worked in the end with judicious cutting, but they were maddening. But some effects were very ingenious, like, the runner who is dies, falls down, they send the cleanup crew. Well, they achieved it in an incredibly novel way. Someone found out that styrofoam, if you pour a certain chemical on it, just goes like that and goes to nothing. So that's what they did. They had the shape. I shouldn't tell you these things. But it worked. But again, you know, because if you don't have these things, you have to use a lot of imagination. And, you know, which I was struck. I don't know about you. I don't want to go on about this, but having seen this on the big screen, of the sheer kind of poetry of it all. You know, but we had a great cameraman, one of the great legends, Ernest Laszlo, you know, behind the camera. Yes, exactly. One of the great, you know, geniuses. And we also had another genius, Peter Ustinov. That dialogue wasn't on the... he just used to come out with it. I used to stand there gasping with admiration about how I should respond to the dialogue, because it, you know, he did his thing. And of course, decades before Andrew Lloyd Webber got his hands on Cats, there he was, you know, giving a wonderful preview of T.S. Eliot.
Was that cat really hurt? Because you really went down on that.
Those damn cats, I'll tell you about the cats. They closed the set. They shut them all in. They lived there. There was a double entrance into the stage, and then into this sort of cage, I suppose, where these creatures were kept. Who'd almost gone feral by the end of 2 weeks. So, I mean, if you were allergic to cats, too bad. They were everywhere.
You were not allergic to cats?
Well, not
in the beginning.
No, that's one of the things they don't put in the small print, but it did work. It was very effective.
This is what we love, these behind-the-scenes stories.
Well, you don't want to spoil things, you know.
We do. We want you to spoil things. So, talk about the when you were using. We were talking in the car on the way over, and we were both dealing with hellish traffic.
Oh yes, did you like our traffic?
Do you like our traffic?
That anticipated what's happening now. You know, little self-navigating cars.
So those were propelled with little golf carts, right? If I read that correctly, the golf cart engines?
Adapted golf cart. Golf cart inspired. Yes, they were.
There were so many new things, other than the guns. What else were there? Other things that held up the shooting, or because I mean everything was new. All these different types of sets, the way that you used the effects.
Hologram.
How was that for you? Because this was, I think, the first time you did anything with that level of effects.
Yes. You know what am I burbling about now?
The effects.
The effects.
The effects.
Well, basically, what you saw is what you got. I mean, the sets were some god-awful place. That sort of underground thing was. It's the sewage works under the LAX flight path, and it was, but it was enormously effective. And so half of it was on location in the Dallas-Fort Worth, and then the Warner Ranch. Probably recognize it from a zillion westerns. And in MGM, on the largest soundstage in the world, you had that incredible ladder that Michael Anderson used very effectively. One thing I want to remind everyone that I was responsible for Farrah Fawcett being in the movie. So, I saw this vision of blonde beauty playing tennis at a friend's, and I said, they said she's an actress, and I said, well, maybe she'd be interested in being in this movie I'm just about to begin, and she was. So I'm responsible for everything that happened to her. No, she was wonderful. You know, you knew she was marked out for something very special.
Do you still, have you kept in touch with Jenny Aguilar? I know she lives in London.
Oh, Jenny, yes. We've actually worked together since, too, but not living in England anymore as she does. Haven't seen that much of her, but I see she's playing a nun on a television series on PBS, making up for all that illicit sex. But it was very discreet. I mean, very chaste in a way. It was extraordinary, the film. I couldn't believe it. The level we've got to of, no holds barred and leaving nothing to the imagination. I thought it was, in a way, rather beautiful, innocent.
It is truly one of the greatest films. I love this film. Now, in terms of a score, you didn't hear it until afterwards?
No, boy, was that a thrill. Jerry Goldsmith, it adds so much. Yeah, absolutely.
You all recognize that score. Anytime that they're inside, it's electronic, and anytime it's outside, it's sweeping orchestral. And did they tell you a little bit about that in terms of how, because you're so much freer and looser when you're outside versus when you're inside, where you're much more constrained? Was that acting? Was that direction from the director? Or how did that come about?
Gosh, that's an interesting observation. I think it was there in the writing, because it's all so tense. It's this chase, and then bingo, you're right. You're out and freer and relaxed, and I'm burbling again. Stop me.
That's me watching it 200 times. That's perfect.
But it was amazing how the film struck a nerve. The generation that saw it. It was, whether it was, this whole thing of a parentless society, reduced the anxiety, being raised by a machine. You didn't have all those issues with parents. Whether it was, completely hedonistic society, if you could have anything you wanted, but you paid for it by, the age of 30. By the way, the novel has them last days when they're 21. That was a bit.
You're talking about the book?
In the book, yes, in the book.
The book is significantly different than the movie.
Yes.
Other than the 21, I mean, your character actually is there to destroy Sanctuary, and Francis's character is a double agent.
Yes.
Was there any talk about including that, or why wasn't that done in the script that way?
I honestly don't know. I wasn't privy to the, to what went into the adaptation.
And there's some new news about 6 months ago that they're trying to write the script again. This is a start and stop process of trying to redo it. Have they offered you the old man?
Well, they should, don't you think? No, I mean, there were various little offshoots. There was a Marvel comic that went through. Thank you. Yes, I got the first one. I hope it's going to be worth a fortune.
At least $5, maybe.
And there was a TV series that didn't run. Yeah.
What about the holograms? Do you have any of those? Okay, so you know the holograms in the end scene where he's being surrogated, and there are those 6 or 8 holograms of you doing that. Those actually were very popular in the 70s. I had one in my house. It was a woman, and you turned left or right, she would say something.
No, but they'd just been invented in a lab up in San Francisco. We all heard about it. We were just about to begin. So we all jumped on a plane and went to the lab and more or less improvised this sequence, not knowing how it would come out, of interrogation, surrogation. And it was the first time a hologram was ever used on film. But as you say, they became enormously popular, everywhere.
Do you have yours?
I wish I did, actually. No, I don't. I have my Sandman's robe. We were doing that sex scene, and he said, well, and I had those ghastly nylon uniforms. They said, you can't do a scene like that. You're at home, you're meant to be relaxed. Literally, in 15 minutes, they ran up that road. I don't know where. And that they did give to me. But I don't think it belongs in the Smithsonian anytime soon.
What was did you have just a great day on set, a favorite day on set?
You know, it sounds Pollyannish to say this, but I really did enjoy it. I love Michael Anderson, who's a most wonderful director to work with. He's so grateful, he's so encouraging, he's so pleasant, he's so nice, no tantrums. He's a great, great director. And Saul David, who's the producer, very funny, very intelligent, very hyper-intelligent. You know, he said, I know what people think of when they think about the future. They think of Fritz Lang's Metropolis. And I don't want this to be, I want to break that. And so he had, you know, a different kind of concept. You know, curvilinear buildings like Frank Gehry, you know, all that. So,
the production design is superb in this movie.
Dale Hennessy, yeah, fabulous. Yeah.
I'm sure that there are people here who have a question or two before I start throwing more off. I can't see anybody anyway.
Here you go.
Yeah. Flash your light clock.
What was it like when the movie came out? What was the reception in '76?
The reception just blew everyone away. They weren't quite expecting it. It was enormously successful, but internationally too. In France, L'Arche du Cristal was a big success, and all over. People, young people especially, identified with what was going on. And it was, you know, although it appealed across the board, it spoke a great deal to young people.
Yeah, at the time I think the budget was $10 million and it made something in the neighborhood of 50 or so, which was a huge amount of money to make back then. Questions?
You had a great rapport with the actor who played Francis, Richard Jordan.
Oh, Richard Jordan, yes.
Discuss a little bit about what it was like to work together. Obviously, had a number of scenes together.
Yes, Richard was someone who became a friend. He was wonderful. Again, you know, you wouldn't suspect this. A great classical actor, as well as able to do this. You know, with a great sense of humor. He called himself Francis Fruit Boots. I can't see him in any other terms. Francis Fruit Boots. He left us far too soon, as you probably know. But again, you know, antagonistic like crazy, scaring the Jesus out of one on set, but wonderfully, you know, civilized, and as I said, he became a friend.
I was going through the math a number of years ago, trying to figure out how many people actually lived there for you to be able to know that 1,000 meant that there was no renewal. And I figured out the number just based on Sanctuary. Did they tell you a number beforehand?
No, they didn't.
So it was just did you have a guess? Did you know?
Yes, you know, the script, it wasn't just Peter Ustinov, just inventing it all. There were changes. I love this. You know, you set out with a script that is absolutely playable, but when something is really happening, often the logic evolves and you have something that really doesn't make sense anymore. And it's a great moment of discovery, and the great thing is to have people in control who recognize this, who will be able to go with it. I don't mean that the lunatics take over the madhouse, but just everyone accepting, you know, that this is the flow. And, you know, it's not going to be what you had when you came in, but even you might have something better. So always when you see a film and when you see some idea or line that you've suggested, you know, it's a big thrill. Bob Fosse, you know, on Cabaret encouraged that all the time. You know, he wanted a collaboration, not a cracking a whip, you know, over. So that's always great. Again, it comes from the top, from the director, who has the confidence to allow this and control it.
In case anybody wants to know, if you want to try and figure it out, multiply 365 by about 40. And that's how you can know that 1,000 people gone means there was no renewal, because there's only about 13,000 people that live there. 40 being the people every single day that become renewal.
I'm glad you told me that. God, you're right, though. Yeah, yes, it's, yes, yes, these are extraordinary statistics. You've seen this film too many times.
I enjoy it every single time, so.
I'm so glad. No, really, sincerely.
Was there any conversation, Planet of the Apes obviously came out several years beforehand. Was there any conversation about utilizing these prototypical American institutions, the Lincoln Memorial, or was there any conversation about saying, hey, why don't we try something totally different so that people just see it as a dystopian world and it doesn't really matter what's out there?
Actually, I wish I knew the answer to that. Again, I came to it, in the casting stage when it was pretty well the screenplay was pretty well developed.
And let's talk about the famous or infamous deleted scenes. There were a number of scenes that went away at Box, who carved you guys out of ice while you guys were butt naked, apparently. Do you know why that was cut?
I've forgotten all about that. No,
Sorry, you sat next to Jenny Aguilar that long naked and you forgot about that?
No, I mean, that's it. The number one rule, as Noel Coward put it, murder your darlings. You can't get in love with it, you've got to get on with it, and maybe it was just in the way. I can't think it was cut for any kind of moral, reason to get a rating. I think the nudity is it's more suggestive than revealed, and it's nice when it's all left to the imagination of it, as we used to do it in the old days.
As an actor, what did you take from that role as you continue to do other roles and as you continue in your career? Was there anything specific that you remember that you learned from Peter or anybody else?
Well, Peter became a friend, which I really valued. So for me, it was a very important film. And we worked together subsequently on last remake of Beaugest, and we did something else together. And getting to know someone of extraordinary talent and cultivation and civilization, is a real plus. I think what helps is, nothing succeeds like success. When you're associated with something that works, it helps. And, you learn obviously from failure, or what's deemed to be failure at the time, because often, you have to wait for something to find its, its audience. I just had that experience. I made a film for the great Billy Wilder called Fedora, which at the time was damned with faint praise. And it was screened at Cannes this year in a special new version put out by various studios. And, I saw the reviews, the words were being bandied about, work of genius, and so on and so on. So, it's, and in the same way that some actors have to wait, a lifetime before their true value is recognized. It's, and conversely, those who get it all up front, often, they're not able to maintain it. So but it's an extraordinary business. There are no rules. It makes it up as it goes along.
I'm just curious how you met Mike Myers. You remember him in Mike Myers films, right?
Oh, behave. Well, the script came from an agent in the usual fashion with a note saying, tell me what you think of it, implying that he didn't think much of it. But I don't go by logic. I go by, you just, it's a kind of instinct, an instinct that's born of experience, of course, and But you
limo
learn
drivers.
to...
And limo drivers.
Well, yes. And you learn to navigate by it. And sometimes choices are counterintuitive. But in this case, it seemed, there was, Mike Myers, I'd seen he Saturday Night Live and, Wayne's World and so on. Plus the whole thing of, it was set at a time that was fascinating to me, the 60s, smashing time, London, when for a brief shining moment London was the centre of the world. I don't know, some instinct said, oh, go for it. And I was happy that lightning struck not once but 3 times. And there's even talk about a 4th, so, well, I keep hearing rumours, so.
I have not heard that yet. I would love to see you again as Basil. Who's next? Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Were you a fan of science fiction growing up?
The question was I a fan of science fiction growing up? Yes. Yes, we had, growing up in England, we had a character called Dan Dare, who was a spaceman and up against the Mekong. Yes, absolutely. It was, we were in the space age. It was all the rage, and I was a child of the times, and loved films of that genre.
Did you read the book Logan's Run either prior to or after the movie?
No, I decided not to. Although I got to meet, Nolan Johnson later. In fact, they'd done a sequel, which they sent to me, which was never done. No, I thought it might be complicated. We had our version, and that was it. And the other things were extraneous. You don't want to, getting things in order. So I didn't know.
Other questions? Go ahead. What's it like to work with Roscoe Lee Brown?
Roscoe's a joy. It was great. Here I go again, sounding like, but no, everyone got on with each other, which is not always the case. And usually when that happens, the film stinks. It's when everyone's at each other's throat, you get worse genius. But no, as I said, I think it came from the top, from Michael Anderson, who was, he ran a very pleasant, civilized, hardworking ship. But Roscoe's a great honor to get to know him and just to listen to that voice, every day.
Fox was a very unique character, as was the costume. I understood it was very difficult for him to walk around and act in it. Did it fall apart a lot? Because it certainly looked like it would.
I think everything fell apart. Yes, it was, it was all real stuff. It wasn't green screened or CGI'd or whatever. It was, it was a bit of green screen, forgive me, yes.
When you're at the car, there's some green screen.
Oh, yes, I know.
I didn't want to say anything.
But that's already an old-fashioned concept, yeah.
But that was blue at the time, wasn't it?
Blue, yeah.
And I understood the extras in the scene with Box, everybody who was actually behind the glass, those were real extras who just had to stand still the entire time.
They did? Wow. Oh yes, they earned their money that day. About the extras, the only thing that struck me at the time, and that seeing it again, it's a very, it's like being at a WASP convention. Everyone is intensely, it could almost be accused of being racist because it's not representative of, who we are as Americans, as a society. But it had all kinds of excuses, it was a very special thing. But I would have liked to have seen a bigger cross-section of ethnic diversity. But that, when they ever remake it, that gives them a chance to do that.
All right, there's a very specific scene during renewal, where when they pull the hoods back and they have the Jason hockey masks on, you have this surprised look on, and I've always wanted to ask you, what was the direction for that? Because you would have seen hundreds of renewals by that point. What was the shock that you were supposed to go through?
Oh, I don't remember.
Make it up for me.
They just cancelled lunch. Oh, I don't. Gosh, I must watch for it next time.
Do we have other questions? Go ahead.
This is the Three Musketeers question. Well, what was it like working with Christopher Lee?
Three Musketeers question, what was it like working with Christopher Lee? Ghastly. No, I'm not. Christopher is a great, honorable gentleman. And again, very civilized, opera singer, a man of tremendous erudition and learning and so on. He was, the thing about the Three Musketeers at that time, we did all our own stunts. All those fights were absolutely for real. We had to learn them, spend hours and weeks so we could do it safely. Because it was done mostly, with a certain degree of verisimilitude. And I ran into Sir Christopher, as he now is, quite deservedly, after he'd been doing these, Lord of the Rings and all these other things, where he's become this, this god. He said, oh, dear Michael, he said, it's so boring. He said, they just put you up against a green screen and they do it for you. He said, whereas that was us, flesh, blood, sweat, tears, And yes, there is a difference. But I heard last week, I was invited too, he's off to Tashkent, to the Tashkent International Film Festival. So he's in huge demand, which at the age of 91 is just wonderful.
Those are also two films that are quite genius. Did you not get along with the rest of the cast as well, and everybody was fighting there too?
About Oliver Reed.
You mean?
The Three Musketeers and Four Musketeers, those are great films.
Well, yes, in retrospect, yes, they really hold up, I'm glad to say.
And you talked about the sword fighting. In those particular films, I don't know if you watch modern sword fighting, but everybody's like going above everybody's head when they're trying to parry and when they're trying to thrust, unless you're in a Quentin Tarantino film. But in the Three Musketeers and the Four Musketeers, they actually were going for body shots. You had to learn how to block.
We wanted to fight dirty. With a foil, it's, you don't see it. So we wanted a very deliberate, ugly, brutal, sort of inelegant way of fighting. And we did it all ourselves. I mean, there was, for one thing, Dick Lester liked his actors to do it because he shot with 4 cameras, often on the same, and, to stop a sequence, to take out a stuntman and then put in, the actor and then carry on, just sort of robbed it of its energy. I have to say, on the second day, my stunt double was injured, and I doubled for him for the rest of the movie.
Wow.
Other questions?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Speaking of stunts, there's a lot of water scenes in Logan's Run, particularly that one scene where all the water's rushing in. Did they warn you that you're going to be swimming a lot, and are you a good swimmer?
Well, I am now, and the water's just come out of my ears. I mean, I couldn't believe it watching it tonight, what they put us through. But when you're young and stupid, you do it. It was. It looked very real. It was real. That torrents of water being knocked around. But they, at the same time, they played it safe. It'd be stupid to do it otherwise, to injure an actor, in a sequence. So I think Jerry Goldsmith helped a lot with, upping the effect. But I'd forgotten just how much water there was. I guess there'll be learned essays written about the water symbolism in Logan's Run.
The carousel, I understand, was quite a mess also when they initially were trying to test it out because everyone was on a wire that had to rotate at the same time. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Again, I kept away from all that. It was, pretty tense. But they got it right at the end. It was very effective. But, it's trial and error. And when you do it on wires and not with CGI, it's going to take its time. But this all, looks like...
We got a
I got a
question.
question.
Oh, go ahead.
Just a quick question. While you were at each other's necks doing Logan's Run, did you think that decades later people would still be talking about the movie, watching it the way that it is? Did you guys ever wonder that it would be the cultural icon it is right now?
You're very kind to put it in those terms, cultural icon. No, absolutely no. You have no idea what's going to happen to it. You hope, of course. You hope against hope. So my attitude is, you take on something and you give it 100%, and then if it doesn't work out, then at least you can say, well, I did my best. You can't second guess. You have no idea. But it's those things that do stand the test of time are very gratifying. Like this year we celebrated the 40th anniversary of Cabaret. And I guess the new indicator is when they bring out a Blu-ray of it, and a digital print. You think, well, they think it's worth their while. So that's very exciting. But no, I don't think you can think that far. You just think, am I going to get through this day? But Logan's Run was fun to make, as I think it shows, and look forward to going to work every day.
Well, thank you so much for coming out.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for letting me share this cultural icon with you. It was a great pleasure to see it, as I said at the beginning, on the screen. Thank you for your company.